Welcome to Green Acres, the place to be for education, generative agriculture, and the fine arts. Let's see how the magic of Green Acres can transform you today.
I'm Lori. I'm an environment educator here at Green Acres.
And I'm Kelly, and I'm an agricultural educator here at Green Acres. Today we are in the old church, and we are going to be talking about some advanced recycling tips. If you have not watched our last video on curbside recycling, I would pause, watch that video, and then come back and join us for the tips that we have today.
All right, so a lot of our tips and tricks, these are things that we do on a regular basis to help our students when they're here with their lunches, or if we find old fence posts. We want to make sure that we can recycle as much as possible. So let's get into it. Here we have plastic film recycling or plastic bag recycling. These can be baggies or plastic bags from Kroger, or even wrap that comes around bottles or toilet paper. These are all things that can go into the plastic film recycling bin. And these we just drop off at Kroger. In their lobby area, they have a drop off, so check with your local Kroger, and you can even go to their website to find a full list of the plastic films that are recyclable.
The next one we're going to talk about is metals. And there's one step you need to do before recycling metals, and that's to determine if something is ferrous or non-ferrous. And what that simply means is ferrous, it contains iron. Non-ferrous, it does not contain iron. You can determine that by seeing if a metal is magnetic or not. So this can here, it is magnetic, so that tells me that this metal is ferrous. I have a piece of tin foil. I can see that it is not magnetic, so that tells me it is non-ferrous. Once you determine that and sort your metals with ferrous or non-ferrous, you can actually take your metals to a recycling facility like Cohen, and there are many locations around the Cincinnati area. We are actually given money for the scrap metal that we take to Cohen, and we use those funds later on to cover some of our recycling costs.
All right, next up is what I call the electronics category, and this is anything that has electricity running through it or is an electronic, and we take them different places depending on what they are. So, for example, old electronics like cell phones or computers or desktops, we can take those to Cohen Recycling, and they'll completely strip them down for parts, and we can get these recycled that way. We also have our batteries, which we take these to Cantor Battery Recycling, and they'll recycle any battery, any size. We also have things like light bulbs that we recycle at Clean Lights Recycling, and whenever we replace a light bulb, we try to always make sure we replace it with the energy efficient light bulb.
The next thing we're going to talk about is plastics. Now, in our last video, we talked about how plastics, it does not matter the number, it's just based on the shape. But today we're going to specifically look at plastic number 5. And plastic number 5 is identified by a chasing arrow symbols with a 5 in it, or it simply just has a 5 pp on the plastic. You would be surprised by the amount of containers that are made by this plastic number 5, which is easily recyclable. So I have this sour cream container and even a fast food cup that is made from the plastic number 5, which that just means it's made with a polypropylene plastic. So when we recycle these, we ship them directly to a recycling facility. And before we do that, we sort them by size and pack them down for our shipping. We send them to Give Me 5 Recycling in New York State, and the money that we get from recycling our scrap metals and our electronics, we use to pay for that shipping cost.
All right, and our last pro tip for recycling is TerraCycle. Now, TerraCycle is an organization that takes really unusual plastics, but they must take them very, very clearly sorted. So it might be things like chip bags or drink pouches or squeeze pouches, and these things are great because they'll even take the lid and the straw from these, so we can really get these recycled. Now, I want to point out that you can go to TerraCycle's website and look up a drop-off location near you. In addition to looking up your own TerraCycle drop-off point, we want to remind you that Green Acres is not a drop-off place for any of these recycles. We encourage you to go out to Cohen Recycling and Kroger and drop off your recycled goods. And if you have any questions about where to send any of these things or other resources, feel free to email my personal email, and I'm happy to answer any recycling questions. So congratulations, you're now an advanced recycler. So thank you for joining us here at Green Acres.
The place to be.